Welcome back to the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz. Make sure you hit that subscribe button just right down there. We're also on Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio app. I'm trying to get us on Spotify. I heard it's not that hard. My next guest though, pretty much think of Frozen without the F. She goes by the name of ROZEN.
Hey, you listen.
To be
Yes,
fair, I
that's
kind of
true.
just took that from your Instagram.
Yep. Well, there you go. At least like you're one of the few that actually pay attention to that because I get like Roseanne or like Rosin. People actually butcher it.
ROZEN?
Yeah, people actually really butcher it, and like I didn't actually go by that name until I was like older because everyone butchered it growing up. So I went by my middle name. So I just decided to adopt it fully because my mom was like, I made you an artist. Like I created an artist name for you. So that's your name. It's really unique. So you should rock it. So I was like, okay, you know what? I should make that my artist
So
name.
ROZEN's your actual name?
Yeah, it's my actual name. Yeah.
And you were going by your middle name?
Everyone called me La or Lala or La. Yeah.
Why? Because La's your middle name?
Last name. Yeah, last name.
ROZEN
So
La.
people just kind of shortened the Lalas and it became Lala and now it's just La. So everyone at work would call me La, like, hey La, blah, blah, blah. And whenever I was with my sister, they would call me Little La.
Yeah.
Because we were both Lalas. So it was just a nickname.
That's crazy.
That I
That's
went
just
by.
like so many different names to go by. Like it's kind of confusing at that point.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to make it a point for people to know my name properly instead of being like, oh, I give up. I'm not going to let anyone pay attention to my name because they don't seem to understand how to say it properly.
Yeah.
It's a unique name. I decided like, nope, screw that. I'm going to make you remember my name.
How'd your mom even come up with that? You know?
Yeah, it's really simple. My dad's name is Ronnie and my mom's name is Zenaida. So they
Zenaida. That's
put it
such a
together.
beautiful name.
Yeah, Filipino, dude. Filipino AF.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of Spanish in there. Zenaida. But they stuck it together and they created ROZEN.
Hey, simple enough, but then it's a very unique name. I was over here thinking like, okay, maybe it's like a mixture of like a whole different things that she's seen, but that's tight.
Yeah,
That's
some
really
people
cool.
think like, oh, it's a metaphor. She is risen from the ashes, like she is risen or rosen. I'm like, that's not even a word, but sure, like whatever
floats your boat.
Yeah, so
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So ROZEN, I actually found you on Instagram. I think I was literally just scrolling and then this page started following me. I think they sponsor a lot of like Filipino artists and whatnot. So I'm over here like, cool, bet. I'm just gonna like go through this little wormhole. I found a couple people and then I like stumbled upon you. And I think the first video that I saw of you, it was interesting because you actually had somebody travel like 6 hours away just to like watch your show. And I was like, okay, what's this girl all about if she got people traveling 6 hours away?
yeah. That was crazy. That moment, that moment was crazy. She traveled all the way from the Bay, actually.
Yay!
So she came out, and she's such a huge fan. She says she listens to my music all the time, and what is unique about it is the message behind my music. And I'm also a domestic violence awareness advocate and keynote speaker for the
I saw
nonprofit.
that you're at Georgetown.
Yeah. So I'm actually traveling to Philly this month to do the same thing, to perform and speak out against domestic violence. But she related so heavily to that content for whatever reason. And she says that, you know, like I was her voice during times where she couldn't, you know, speak out about what was going on with her. So she connected to me on a deeper level. And that's what I hope to have. Like I want a bunch more fans that will travel 6-7 hours just to come see me, just so that they can hear those words and those lyrics come to life. You know, with a live band, it's a completely different ambiance from, you know, just hearing the track.
Yeah.
So it was really, really special. I did not even know how to react. Like I'm very low key. So when I heard that, I was like,
well, yeah, like it looked like in the video your face was just shocked. Like you really traveled 6 hours.
I was like, wait, what? I could not digest it. I didn't even know how to react. She probably thinks like I'm super weird because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because in my head, music is just like so personal to me. I don't think of it. I don't really see it affecting people. I get the DMs, I get the comments, but it's very rare for those little avatars on Instagram and YouTube to become actual real people, to come to you and tell you to your face like, "Hey dude, you really really touched me. Like I'm your biggest fan." She even showed up to my the Toyota Hybrid Carnival show. She was there
Where
as
was
well.
that?
That was this past weekend. It was like a 3-4 day event in Little Tokyo. Yeah, and it
Damn,
was
and
free.
she traveled again?
Yeah.
Yo, you got some diehards.
Yeah, I mean, well, she's for sure confirmed diehard. Like
Yeah.
that's 2 for 2. You know what I mean? So it means a lot. It really, really means a lot. And then it puts into perspective like, oh shit, like what if I can actually do this for the rest of my life? Like tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Like what if there's a long line of people waiting to talk to me after a show, as opposed to the few that talk to me after a show. Like I just picture where I'm at now, and I magnify it and amplify it, and it blows me away. It really does, because right now what I'm getting is just a tiny little fraction of what could be, you know?
And you know, it's not even on like, people don't get it twisted. It's not even on like some fame shit. It's just the fact that you're able to touch somebody through music.
Yeah. Like I could care less about the fame. I really, really don't care. It doesn't matter how many Instagram followers you have. It really, at the end of the day, it's just numbers. It's just a popularity contest. But who are you at the end of the day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not about the fame. It's not about the exposure. If I could touch at least one person in the way that I at least touched her, it would really fulfill me and make me, reinstill faith in my purpose, which is to heal through music. I really do believe that that's my purpose. Growing up, being Filipino, telling my Lola, like, "Oh, Lola, I wanna be a nurse." And she's like, "Oh, anak, like, why? What kind of a nurse?" And I was like, "I want to be the nurse that doesn't use real medicine. I want to use music and my voice as medicine." And I actually said that when I was like 10, when my Lola was like, unfortunately, in like within that year she passed.
Yeah.
So she was having these deep conversations with me, and my mom probably doesn't even remember this conversation, but it was one of the last memories I have with her. She asked me what I wanted to be, and I told her I wanted to be a nurse, but like a singing nurse that healed people back to like 100% health with music and with my voice. And when I was meditating really heavily, I was going through a really, really dark time. I was writing about Pages, my 2-part EP, the one that you talk about my domestic violence story. I was really meditating because my heart was so heavy, talking about the content, questioning whether or not I should even do this. Like, am I putting a target on my back? Like, am I going to wake up to my abuser knocking on my door, or like staring at me while I sleep? I did not know anything, So in the times when you don't know anything, sometimes it's best to be really still. And when in that moment of stillness, I remember meditating, and I remember like, I feel like it was my Lola, like the spirit of my Lola. She just flashed that memory in my mind of me saying that to her. And then it just clicked to me. Like I had these words just float to my brain and tell me like, hey, your purpose is to heal through music. That's what sets you apart from other singers. Because you can sing, you can dance, but what is going to set you apart from all these other people? And it's your story.
Were you like singing to your Lola, like, while she was going through her phase?
Oh, yeah. My mom would bring me up to her little wooden house, and she was really old school. She had like those gas lamps, and she would like walk around.
Oh, the ones you could like walk around with, like in the
woods.
Like
old school. So my mom would like take me there because she was like, "Oh, you have to entertain your Lola. You make her laugh." I was like, okay. So I'm sure I sang like a few songs for her a few times. I know for sure I sang what my mom calls the Titanic song.
Oh, Here, Far, Wherever They Are.
Yep. That was a hit. So I sang that for her. Yeah.
Because, the reason why I asked that is because, like, especially if you were, like, singing to your Lola, even just a little bit, you kind of, like, started your career off in that sense and, like, your purpose, like, way back when.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the one question I've always known how to answer is, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always said, like, I want to be a singer. I want to be an entertainer. That has never changed ever since I was 3. When I went to school and when I got a degree in fashion merchandising, I was kind of rolling my eyes. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do this. Sure. But I was just really anxious to check off all the boxes. You know, I like graduated, like got straight A's, went to college, graduated from a top 100 university.
Where'd you graduate from?
Western Michigan University.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm like, you know what? I did everything. I checked off all the boxes, so to speak. So I was like, screw it. I'm gonna move to LA. That's when I'm actually gonna establish.
Wait, where are you from?
My roots. That is a funny question.
Here we go.
You ready? Okay.
It's gonna get deep.
I was born in the Philippines. When I was 3, I moved to Nigeria. Then I moved to Mumbai. Then I moved to New Delhi. Then that's both in India. Then I moved to Bangkok, Thailand. Then I lived there for 4 years. And then I moved back to Nigeria for 1 year, Lagos, Nigeria. Then I moved to England. Yeah, England for 2 years. And then I moved to Michigan. Then I graduated from high school and completed university in Michigan. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna move
so
to
even
Los
at that
Angeles.
point, you went to all these different countries way before you were even like 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was with all the travel?
Everyone thinks like I'm an army brat. That is far from it. I'm a Coca-Cola kid. So I'm what you call a third culture kid. If you don't know what it is, you should look it up. But we're very real and very rare. Basically, it's a bunch of like expats, like a lot of gasoline companies or Pepsi or Coca-Cola, and in which my case was Coca-Cola. My dad was an international sales director for Coca-Cola. So he would just be assigned to different countries. Yeah, and we would travel with him. We were the traveling family. And so that's why we moved. It started off in the Philippines, and then next thing you know, Dad gets back from work. I remember being like, what is all the fuss?
Yeah,
I'm like
freaking out.
3. I'm like 3. I could barely speak. And I remember my parents being like, oh my God, blah, 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 like running around the house. And I'm like, what is happening? And my dad goes, okay, from this moment on, you are gonna respond in English. Doesn't matter what we say to you, whether it's in English or Tagalog, you are going to respond in English, okay? Because we moving. And I was like, all right.
What?
Like, all right, tight. Here we
Wait,
go.
why?
Because they knew that I was going to be thrown in with a lot of international students. I was going to be thrown into different cultures. I was this little Filipino islander girl, didn't really speak a lick of English, and I had to go overseas for the first time. And my dad knew, like, okay, it's starting. We are going to be living abroad for
a long time.
For a long time until I retire. Like, this is it. Like, here's my dream coming true. And so my parents wanted me to, and my siblings, to adapt properly and be able to have these conversations with all the other international students. And I remember losing my Bisaya. I remember losing my Tagalog. Like, I was like a 4-year-old as a flower girl. And I remember, like, we had walked down the aisle, sprinkled our rose petals, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm sitting there, I'm, like, young. I'm sitting there with, like, all the other flower girls. They're all Filipino. And they're all talking. Like, they're all talking. And I remember I understood everything they were saying. And I go to speak, and I could
Just
not.
froze up.
Yeah, I was like, I could not.
Insane.
There was no, like, Tagalog in me at all. I was
Yeah.
only responding in English because I turned it off. And when you don't use
When
it,
you don't
you
use
lose
it,
it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of a unique story. It's kind of part of why I wanna share my story, because not a lot of people have the same upbringing as me. You know, like,
Yeah.
a lot of people think, like, oh, she's probably some, like, Filipino chick from LA. No, like, far from it. I don't know any artist that has the same upbringing as me. And yeah.
No, yeah. To be quite fair, like, your upbringing is completely different from any story that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Probably with the exception of one of these artists I interviewed. Her name is Mariba, and she, I think, born in Nigeria and then ended
Wow.
up going to like Atlanta and then all like the other like eastern like states and whatnot. And I'm just like, the conversation surrounding that was like not necessarily having like a place to call home.
I can really. I was actually about to touch on that. It's like it's really lonely being what you call a third culture kid because I think about it. I moved when I was 3. What memories or what roots can you establish when you're 3 years old? None. I don't even have memories like growing up in the Philippines. I remember like vaguely being a toddler, but I don't remember any friends I had. And I moved from country to country. And back then we did not have Facebook. Like, so
Yeah.
when you said bye, you're like,
It was peace for a couple years.
bye. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to run into you again. So thank you for the memories. Thank you for our friendship. Bye. You know, like I held on to my yearbooks like they were sacred because I'm like, I remember these
Yeah.
people. But now we have Facebook and we have Instagram. But being here and like living in America and hearing all my peers and all my friends and whatnot talk about like SpongeBob or that freaking cartoon that sits on a stoop. I don't even freaking know.
Hey Arnold.
Whatever. Yeah, sure. I don't even know. But like I'm like, I don't know who they are. I don't know. And I barely know any cartoons because I was only privy to what they showed in Nigeria or in Bombay or in Thailand at the time. I did not have Nickelodeon. I did not have all these different American networks. Like that is just privately to Americans. We are not privy to that stuff.
So
like,
then as a kid, like what did you really latch on to?
real things. Like I think that's also what sets me apart from people is my dad and my mom didn't allow us to have TV when we were living in New Delhi. They were like, all right, we are, how about this, kids? I remember him saying, like, we're not going to have cable. I want you guys to have a real childhood. Like, you have a field of flowers. You have a tennis court. You have a basketball court. You have a swimming pool. You have your friends that live next door. You have your brothers and your sisters. You have a dog. Like, go play. Have a childhood that is real. Don't stay in your rooms. Don't be playing video games. Don't be watching TV. Like, no. If you want to watch something, you can watch any of the movies that we have, like on videotape.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and that's how I know Grease really freaking
Front
well.
to back. 'Cause
Front
you probably
to back.
watched it like over and over
and over and over again. But yeah, and you don't really have a sense of home. Like my sense of home is in every single one of those countries that I lived at. And one of my bucket list things to do is like as an artist, I want to go and travel and perform at those countries that I lived and revisit those places that I lived, revisit the house that I grew up in, because no one can say that they've known me through all that time. And it's very lonely. When I see my American friends, they can say like, oh, I've known her since 2nd grade, or like, oh, back in 4th grade, she was known as this, or hey, you remember blah, 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 blah. I don't have that. I don't have anyone in my life that can hold me accountable for all the years that I've lived it. You know?
Yeah.
Other than my siblings, but even then we were separated. My eldest brother graduated when we were in school in Thailand. He stayed there. Then my other brother, when he moved to England, he like found his home there, so he stayed in England. Then my sister was like, Canada. So she moved to Canada, and then I was like, LA. And here we are. So we all spread out. Like, you know, just that culture of traveling and moving and being abroad and immersing ourselves into different cultures, it stayed with us because that's all we knew growing up. So even we didn't even get to see each other that often. I only see my family maybe once a year. And there's so many memories lost during those times. My parents haven't seen me perform dancing at all. They've never watched me do any choreography live, ever. Wow. They were absent during those years because those years were what I call in the lost files. They you know, I was grown up. I was in high school. I was in college by that time, and I wasn't living with my parents when I lived in Michigan. I moved in with my tita, my auntie, because she lived there. And my parents continued to retire in the Philippines. And I only lived under their roof until I was 14 because I went to boarding school in England. So it's really lonely. Like there's pieces and parts of me that you will never, ever know. And no one will ever, ever know other than me. And yeah, so I can completely relate to that other artist.
But you know, like being in such like a lonely position, I've always felt like whenever I'm alone, for example, like that's when I can get like a lot of work done, and that's when I really like know a lot more about myself. So for you, like, did you feel like you got more of a sense of discovery considering that everyone around you who was supposed to be close to you were just like so far off?
You know, it's so funny. That's an interesting question. I was young and like being a kid, kids constantly live in the present. And I was very much that kid that I like was always marveling at everything around me. And I was in different countries. I was in India. I was in Thailand. You know, I was in England. I was enamored by everything around me. I didn't really get to grow as a person at a young age because I was too distracted, honestly.
Yeah.
I was too distracted living in all these different places and immersing myself in the culture that, you know, I didn't think to myself, hey, one day you're not going to be able to live this life. Like
Yeah.
one day you're going to really end up being a really, you know, local chick in LA. You're going to be really LA AF. Okay, like it's coming. You're not, you know, these days of travel and living abroad are limited. I did not think about that. I was just too distracted. But discovering myself came later in life when I could reflect on my past and see where I've come from and see my childhood and where I lived. Being able to rethink of my past was really healing in my 20s, like for self-discovery. I was able to really hone into what made me me just by looking back on memories and where I've come from.
I mean, what does really make you you? The fact that you're just like moving around everywhere and there's no like sense of home?
Yeah, I just feel like the sense of home is really where the heart is. I have everything that I've ever owned in my life basically with me in my apartment because I
Damn.
have to. I have to. What am I gonna do? Throw it in a balikbayan box and ship it off to the Philippines? That shit'll get
Nah.
lost. It'll get lost. But no. So I have all of that with me. I carry it all with me, and I think that's why I hold LA close to my heart because it was the first place that I got to establish my own roots and be like, okay, this is where I want to be. Just tell the rest of my story and live out the rest of my life like a new chapter. It wasn't an assignment through my dad's company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but I think what makes me me is my experiences, my unique story, my unique upbringing, my memories, you know, like it's very unique. And there's not one single living soul that I know that can relate to me and say, yes, oh yeah, I remember when we used to live in Nigeria together and then we moved to Thailand and then No, there's not
Nothing.
one person. There's not one person.
So then now it sounds like LA is definitely going to be that one spot in which you can establish those memories, and then you start meeting people, and then you could start looking back like, remember that one time we did that podcast, for
Yes.
example,
Yes.
type of shit. And so when you did first move here to LA, like what was your first move? What did you need to do?
Oh my gosh. When I moved out to LA, I was very wide-eyed. I was like, yes, no more school. Like, woo! Like I get to live my best life. I don't need anyone telling me anything. I get to just mess up and love myself for it and learn from it. And, like I was excited to get lost in the hustle and bustle of what it was to be an artist. But at the time, artist looked like a dancer. I was a professional dancer. I was doing a bunch of gigs, like random feature films, random commercials. It paid the bills. I didn't really get my name out there. It just paid the bills, enough to pay the bills. I was a part of Academy of Villains.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So y'all competed in like World of Dance and everything.
Yeah.
Fuck with you. I'll show you something that I have later on.
Hell yeah, dude! It was such a good time, and I was like in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
Being under the direction of Phoenix and Farside, but that was like one of the first things I did out here. Like I think that the very first month I moved out to LA, I became a part of a crew, and I think that sense of looking for community comes from a deeper meaning in my past, like constantly looking for community because I don't have those people that stay grounded with me, that have those roots with me. So I think I naturally try to find, like a group of people that can, call me their own. So I found that with AOV. And then when I wasn't, okay, rehearsal was every night. What am I talking about? Rehearsal was every single freaking night.
It's like there wasn't a night where I wasn't with AOV.
No, like that shit went until like 4 a.m. sometimes. We would
Yeah.
watch the sun come up as a team. So it taught me discipline, and it taught me a lot of good practice as a dancer, which helped me pay for the bills. But then eventually I got lost in pageant world.
Started doing pageants too.
Yeah, I did like 2 pageants. Did really, really well. I represented the Philippines in one of them. One was an international pageant. Yeah, and I got 3 awards. It was my first pageant ever. Not trained whatsoever, but they named me Miss Congeniality, and I won the Best Dancer award and the philanthropy award.
So then how'd you even like prep yourself for that, especially not having like any background like history of ever doing that?
One word. Google.
I fuck with you.
Google.
I fuck with you.
I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but you can always find a way to do something. You can always find a way to find the answer if you don't already know the answer. It's just research.
Yeah.
So I just did a lot of YouTubing, a lot of like studying a lot of different women, like empowering women, and it helped me grow as a person. I was not this confident in my speech, in myself whatsoever until pageantry. So I feel like everything that I've done has really helped shape and mold me to become, a clearer version of myself and who I ultimately think God wants me to be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then after scoliosis really like did a number on me after AOV, like woo, I remember I was like, I can't do this. Like my body aches so much. So I took that as a sign, like, all right, time to switch gears. Like your throat is not affected, so you better sing. So then I became a part of girl group after girl group after girl group.
How'd you get like implemented into a girl group?
I think it was a combination, honestly, of Craigslist and LA casting. So there was a lot of bad apples and a lot of like diamonds in the rough, like when it comes to finding those opportunities. Yeah. The 2 main girl groups that stood out the most was Clarisy and Lipstick. Those were the 2 that were the hardest to let go. I was a part of 6.
And then how many people were like in the girl groups?
For Clarisy, it was 3. So I was one of 3. And then Lipstick was, 3 as well.
And were you like, was any one of you the main, or were all of you kind of just like on the same level?
I think they wanted it to be, I remember having this talk actually with the manager. He pulled me into the room and he was like, okay, so we're making everyone think that it's very equal, but obviously you and everyone know that you have the most lead. Like you're the main lead. You sing all the main melodies. So it's, it's not really a hidden thing.
You're not trying to toot your own horn.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, tight. Like, okay, cool. I was never mad if like anyone took the verse. I would get really, really hyped too. 'Cause I'm like, that's fine. Like, I want to share this. I never wanted to feel like I was hogging the spotlight. I was just doing what I was told. Honestly, I was just doing what I was told. And yeah, they always put me in the center of the photos, of the posters, and made me the lead a lot. But everyone saw each other as equal. Everyone was equally talented. I think it was more of a looks thing. That one was hard to let go. The one that I'm talking about right now is Lipstick. That one was a tough one. We were supposed to open up for Nick Jonas and Demi Lovato. We were getting fitted for our earpieces. We were like getting the text like, all right, okay, like girls, we're gonna go get our earpieces fitted so we can get ready for the show. We had the whole performance done. We had a whole like live mix done. It sounded incredible with live drums. Everything sounded dope. Like everyone was getting along. The girls got along great. It was a management issue. And turns out he was stealing money from our investor. So we didn't have any funds to do the show.
Wow, that's
and
insane.
Pulled the plug and everyone, I quit first, then the rapper quit, then the other singer quit.
Well, yeah, because it's See, because I was over here thinking like maybe there was just something that didn't really mesh well with all three of you, but like when
No.
it's management, that's like a whole nother level. That kind of reminds me of how like Lonzo Ball recently just left like Big Baller Brand because of like
Wow.
all that
Yeah.
internal shit that was going on. It's like, bro, like, and to me, it's always that fact that like money is very poisonous,
It is. It really is.
despite how much it can help you and it has helped you.
Yeah. But it's really funny whenever money is involved. I feel like it shows everyone's true colors. And despite your relationship with that person, throw money into the factor and then you can really see the truth, behind the way that they work. And that's exactly what happened. We were working our 9 to 5 jobs every single day. Some of us had full-time jobs actually, and we would go to the studio and be there from 8 o'clock at night till, oh my God, one was 11 a.m. 11 a.m.
8 o'clock at night until 11 a.m.
Until 11 a.m. The businesses were opening up around us and they were complaining. Like, they complained throughout the night. They complained during the morning. Like, what is that loud noise?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it was ridiculous, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. Despite the fact that it was a management issue, I don't deny the fact that everyone involved was incredibly talented, including the manager. He was the one that also, top-lined every song. He wrote every song. I co-wrote on some songs, and he was brilliant. Like, his ear was really, really great. So I learned a lot from him, despite the fact that ultimately, it was
Well, what were you learning though?
musically. I was like learning a lot of how to run a session. Like, it was my first real time regularly hitting the
a lot of the
studio.
logistics being in the
Yes,
studio.
I'm like, huh? Like, what? Double what? Huh? Oh, double
Reverb, echo.
What? Yeah, pan left. What? Pan right? What? So I was just really, I used to just go in there, sing my part, and then like chill on the couch while they engineered it and whatever. But watching him mix and engineer everything as we were singing it, it taught me a lot. Like, it taught me how to move quickly. It taught me how to support a vocal just by doubling it, how many doubles you need, where you should put different stabs, what kind of ad-libs you need to push the song. Does the song need a bridge? All these different things, like all the different bells and whistles. Like, it definitely helped fine-tune me and my ear. He pushed me vocally as well. Like, I was singing runs and riffs that I did not know were in me, and he believed in me. He was like, no, yeah, you just got to do it like this. And he would push me, like, sometimes on the spot, like while I'm behind the mic. He's like, no, hit me with this run, and I would have to do it over
That's
and over and over
crazy.
again. And back then I did not really know my sound at all. I was just this robot, like, oh, you need pop? Okay. Like, oh, you need a little bit of R&B? Okay, like, tell me what to do. Yeah. And it wasn't until I went solo, I started to really ask myself, like, what do you want? Like, what is your sound? What do you want to wear? Like, how do you want to represent yourself? And I think just simply being myself and forcing myself to wear all the different hats and figure out all the different logistics, and be my own agent, my own manager, my own everything.
Well, it's even that much more impressive because there's not too much shine on women in the industry. And it was just recently until I heard like somebody who was engineering Anderson .Paak's entire project. It's a female engineer. I'm like, yo, that's fucking tight.
Amazing.
Somebody just down the street working at Kanye's studio, she manages that entire studio. Like, yo, that's
incredible.
tight. And you know what I mean? Like, especially my point being, like, especially being a woman in this industry, knowing every single thing just makes you that much more powerful because 9 times out of 10, you walk into a studio session, a guy's just going to think you're like an R&B singer, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. When do you ever see an all-female crew in the booth? A female engineering everything, mixing and mastering everything. It's very rare, and it's really, really nice to see. One day, like, I actually want to have a full-blown performance all ran by women. I think that would be incredible.
Tight.
Like,
That's
female
tight.
bassist, female drummer, female sound girl, the sound girl, not sound guy, the sound girl, sound
There we
chick.
go.
But yeah, I just think, it's all part of the story and the dream, my story
Yeah,
and my
it's all
dream.
part of the
Yeah.
process, man.
Yeah.
Because like nowadays we're seeing, I mean, at least I'm seeing more and more women like enter the industry. So it's like the more that happens, like maybe music in general will just have like this shift where it's not like 80% dudes. We have more women like rising up. Like that would be a really beautiful thing.
Like if you really think about it, it's super male dominated, and if you were to listen as a woman to some music, you would respond differently than a male would, because you don't have the same experiences. You don't look at the male and female. It's different energies, different perspectives. So that trickles so far deep into music, whether it's an A&R, whether it's a female A&R versus a male A&R. What experiences has he gone through that makes his ear his ear? You know what I mean? What makes him click next or skip that song, as opposed to this female A&R that would actually give it a listen. We don't know that because it's so extremely unbalanced.
yeah.
So like I feel like the world, and I feel like we're already on the track. Like it really made me smile seeing International Women's Day. Like how much love we showed to our
Because
women.
low key, I feel like that didn't even exist last year.
No, it didn't. But I think everything that happened has culminated to this point. Like we need to take a stand, and it also was bittersweet because it was like, wow, I'm really happy to see this happening, but then at the same time I'm like, wait, why the fuck can't this happen every day?
Yeah.
Why can't it always be Women Empowerment Day? Why do we only shed the light on this topic today? What kind of crap is that?
I think it's kind of like how you and I were just having a conversation right before this podcast started, and you can kind of apply it to, there's so many Filipinos in LA who are trying to make it in music, but like we just don't know where they are, but they do exist.
They do exist.
And you apply that to women too. It's kind of like there's so many female engineers, female artists, female whatever, but we just don't know where they are yet.
Yeah, I also have a theory that I think it could be fear that cripples a lot of people.
Fear in what?
To come out of their shell. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of how people will accept them or not accept them as a, I don't know, it could be a lesbian Filipino sound engineer.
I get you.
You know what I mean?
You,
like how we are so critical and we've become so bold. Why? Because of social media. We can hide behind fake photos and avatars and never actually feel anything because we're catfishing people. You know what I mean? Like we can hide behind all of that crap. And I just think that like it's hard for us to feel confident and in being ourselves when the world can be so critical.
Yeah.
And we dish out talking shit so easily on Instagram. Scroll down to any celebrity's recent post and see how many haters there are.
There's so much.
There's so many, but you have to put your blinders on. But some people aren't strong enough to accept that, so they hide. They don't try to be a bigger fish in the ocean. They want to be the bigger fish in their small pond, so to speak. So I feel like a lot of people are scared of what's to come next if they were to pursue their dreams, if they were to, actually go for it as whatever you may be, as a woman, as a minority. But I do think we are making a shift. And highlighting, like, haven't you noticed it's like trendy to be a minority now?
It really is. People of color, all
like,
of that.
The whole movement.
Yeah, like, everybody is that much more proud to be, like, the color of their skin.
Yeah.
But, like, the crazy thing, and I always reference this about, like, Filipino, like, women back home is, like, I remember hearing about this cream that can just make your skin a lot more pale and white. And I'm just like, what, like, being, like, a Filipino myself is kind of like, why would you want to change that about you? Like, brown is definitely beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard dealing with, family members that know that I'm in the music industry and they see the photos that I'm posting and they see the color of my skin. Like, I'm a tanner Filipino girl. Like, I'm not, like, super tan, but, my skin is brown. I don't say, like, I'm pale or fair skin or light skin. And, sometimes family members, they have a problem with that. They kind of slide you over the whitening cream, kind of slide over.
Just do this.
Here,
Stay out of the sun a little bit.
Yeah, here, not use this, and it's like you have to just kind of accept it for what it is. Like other people see beauty in a different light. Other people value other things differently than you do.
Yeah.
So it's all about balance. You can't really react too harshly on that, but yeah, that's part of being Filipino, man. Like you're either too tan or you're too white.
You're not eating enough.
Or you're not eating enough, or you don't speak enough Tagalog.
Yeah.
Or you think you're like, don't speak in your American accent when you go to the mall. Don't. You know what I mean? Like they do that. They worry about that. And I think we have to bridge the gap. And I think what will help with that is artists, like Filipino American artists that tell their unique story so that other Filipino artists can be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like that's real.
It's empowering,
because there's like so many artists in the Philippines who I remember listening to growing up, and I was like, they're not even speaking Tagalog. That's the crazy part. But just seeing them kind of like instills in my head like, oh, like the Philippines is actually like its own market, and you can actually like make a living doing music. So I don't know where this whole, I mean, I do have an idea of where like the doctor and lawyer thing came from, because when they moved out here, they just needed like immediate
Hustle.
money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like now you and I are at least in that generation in which it's like, okay, well, now that our parents made all the money doing A, B, and C, we can kind of do D, E, F.
Yep.
We can pursue like the artistry, because in a sense, it's kind of like that's what I feel like a lot of our parents wanted to do. You go to my house back in the Bay Area, my dad has a microphone set up, his guitar and everything, and he'll post Facebook videos like,
that's beautiful.
No? And I'm like, he wanted to be a singer at one point, and I could tell.
Same, my dad too. And I think, I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, do you ever have like resentment towards us as your family for you giving up your music dream? And he was like, no. He goes, no, I made a choice. He was like, I had another dream and I chose to pursue that.
Yeah.
And he did. He really, really did. And he said, my dream was to give you guys a childhood that I never had. And he grew up from a broken home. He lost his parents at a really, really young age. Really, really young age. So he didn't really have a childhood. So he gave us the world, literally. We traveled and saw things. I rode on the back of an elephant and a tortoise. And
I'm
it's just
so jealous, man.
It's
I'm
a real
so
thing.
jealous.
It's a real thing. Don't sit on their neck, though, because that shit is spiky. They have, like, really thick hair.
Wait, of elephants?
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
They just look dead ass bald.
They
from, like, afar.
they look bald, but nah, bro. They got these sharp, like, if I was the elephant, the hair would be like, I remember I was wearing shorts and I was like, oh, this is not a good idea. Felt like I was getting like splinters from their peach fuzz, but it was great. It was great. You should totally do it. Bucket list. But
No,
go to the real elephant sanctuaries. Don't go to the bad ones.
Over in where, New Delhi?
No, in Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah. Do your research before you go to visit any elephant touristy sites, because sometimes they really like mistreat their animals.
Oh.
So, and I'm not down with that.
No, I feel you.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
There's this video of this like baby elephant like just replaying in my head, and I think like it ended up like knocking down like a woman, but then like it fell down with it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh shit, like that's really cute. I didn't know elephants were that playful.
Yes.
But it's like I think one thing that you have like on top of like everybody else is the fact that like, again, you've been to all these different places, so you see how different every single culture is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you see how similar, I guess, everyone's like how everyone's trying to like hustle and just live and survive.
Yeah, it really is. It's funny comparing different cultures, but seeing humans ultimately live out the same human experience, still seek out love, still seek out success, and still hustle, grind to provide for their family. It's definitely shaped me to be, worldly. I think I have a very worldly lens on things. But when it comes to music, I just feel like I want to take that and add it to music by being as organic and as vulnerable as possible. I'm okay with being vulnerable in front of people. I think I became okay with it upon the release of Pages, because I was like, here I am
It was very personal. I think what really stuck out to me was the fact that like you had those little interludes in which you were like writing on notebooks. So it's like once you get like a full ass song and then you get that little break, it's like okay, it's kind of like a refresher of what's actually going on right now.
Yeah.
And the crazy part too was just that like I forgot if it was on pages 1 or pages 2, but like you were like talking about your abuse and I was just like, whoa, like this shit got way deep way quickly. And it made me like, I don't know, I guess in a sense, like even though I haven't been in like any like physical abusive relationship or whatever, it's kind of like I felt it because I felt how real it was from you.
Yeah, it was a process. And I was just hearing like an interview that Nipsey Hussle did. Rest in peace, man. That's very, very heavy on everyone's heart still,
Yeah.
mine included. But in this interview, he was saying, you know, like we're artists. We create like whatever we go through, and whatever we're gonna create, it has to come from a place of struggle, at least in some point. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Like you have to struggle. You have to welcome the struggle because you're creating. It's not supposed to be easy. Like you have to go through that and be okay with accepting that. And that's exactly what the whole Pages project was for me. And I designed it in my mind like, okay, girl, like you are not talking about what happened to you at all. It's been 3 years. You haven't talked about what happened to you whatsoever. I was already dating someone new who I'm still dating, but I was like, this is a whole part of me that no one knows existed. But I still showed up. I was still there, but no one saw the behind the scenes of what was actually going on. I still have those same friendships, and coming out about it, it made so much sense to some of my friends. They were like, oh, I get it. Like I knew something was up, but I did not know to the severity of what he would do to you. So I was like, I need to talk about this. No one knows. Like no one knows. I could not even bring myself to have a conversation about it. I would start hyperventilating. I would start crying. I would start like having flashbacks and my palms would start sweating. It was bad. It was so bad. And I realized like, okay, this is something you need to heal from. Like this is not, you are broken. And it took me a while. I didn't even know how broken I was when I was in it. It's like it was definitely PTSD because it hit me after the fact. I was strong enough to walk away, and eventually after I walked away and I allowed time and everything to settle, I think everything came up. And when I did talk about it, or when I would acknowledge that time in my life, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not healing from this at all. I need to do something. And Pages, there was always something in the back of my mind, even with those girl groups. It was like, you need to write about this. You need to create from this. You need to make this something like a sonic album, like a melody of your pain, and you need to heal from it. That's how you're going to heal, is you have to heal through your music, girl.
Well, the first step is always acceptance. And acceptance is really almost as simple as just like saying it out loud.
Yep. And I would try to say it out loud and I would just crumble. And people are like, what is wrong? I would just crumble. So I actually did 6 weeks of therapy where I just spoke about everything. And I did a couple workbooks where it made me acknowledge the things that actually happened to me. So I was, really like facing my demons head on. Meanwhile, while I was doing all of that, I was writing about it through my music. I took the pages from my journal, I remember flipping through, I had all these pink Post-its on all the ones. I'm like, oh yeah, that one. I remember like highlighting all of them and being like, I need to make these into songs because these are the important messages that people need to know.
Yeah.
And I sat down with my team and I told them exactly what I wanted. And this is something people don't know. We wrote every song kind of backwards. I was like, this is the track list. They're like, what? But you didn't write a single word yet. You didn't write a single lyric. I go, I know, but this is the track list. I had the track list the way that I wanted
that's
it.
Crazy.
With the names of all the songs that I wanted.
And nothing was written down
Nothing was written down. And I was like, this is what I want. And they're like, but we don't have a song called Hands on Me. I'm like, we're going to. The hook is going to say Hands on Me. And I knew exactly what I wanted. And we tailored each song to that track list. And I forgot about that until it was like recently the producer was like, yo, it was crazy. Rosen had us do this shit backwards. Like she had a track list done without a single song recorded. And I just knew that that's how I wanted to tell my story. I knew that was...
Well, yeah, it was kind of like reverse brainstorming.
Yeah.
That's ill.
And it made me realize, like, oh, that is something that you do. Like, that's unique. So it got to, this project showed me a lot of different sides of myself and how I work and how I feel and how I execute things. So, so that's a fun fact about...
Dude, that's amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
I don't know that many people who could do that. I guess the only caveat that really comes with that is, like, when you ended up making the songs, like, since you're catering to, like, one specific word or, like, like, whatever that song is, like, did you have to, like, redo the songs over and over again? Or, like, let's say you have, like, a beat laid out for, like, one song idea you had in mind. And then at one point were you ever like, nah, scrap that. We got to, like, okay.
No. I remember for Bed of Lies, we were just in the studio. We had just finished recording Nobody. Yep. And I was like, you know what? I was like, hey, do you have any free beats? I want to listen to something that'll sound like Bed of Lies. And he was like, okay. And he played like a bunch of beats, and we stopped on one beat. We're like, kind of like this one. Listened to a few more, then we went back to that beat that we liked. And we instantly started singing, like, just laying in this bed of lies with you. Like, we just started singing it, and we're like, ooh, yes, this is the one. And we just saved it in a voice memo, and we revisited it for the next session, and then banged it out.
Easy.
Like, we wrote it on the spot, and then recorded it afterwards, like in chunks.
Damn.
Yeah, it was just, it came so organically because I knew exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah. So that's why you should write and create from a purpose always, because it's so powerful. You know what I mean? It's super, super compact and precise and straight to the point. And
the thing is, like, people gravitate towards stories. You know what I mean? Even hip hop from the 90s or even like the 80s, everything was just about what was going on, like, during those times. And that's why hip hop ended up becoming a thing, because people were like, yo, like, he's telling my story. Oh, he's also telling my story. West Coast rap happens. Yeah, this is what's happening in the streets right now.
Yeah.
So whenever I do hear music and I can't really gravitate toward a purpose other than, like, it being, like, entertaining or, it being in a club. If you make some shit for the club, make it for the club, but go all the way.
Yeah.
But it's, like, it's the oversaturation of that and, like, I guess the loss of the storytelling that really saddens me in the grand scheme of, like, music.
Yeah. And it's really bittersweet because it's like you see all these mumble rap songs. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And sometimes it's really nice to, like, you're like, oh shit, I fuck with this. But at the same time, you're like, what the hell are you saying?
It's kind of like when you have like a beat playing in the background and you're kind of just like humming some melodies. I feel like they never get past like humming the melodies. I'm like, bro, just put any fucking word to it. Put something.
Like that's what it sounds like.
And that's supposed to be the demo.
Yeah. And then you throw a couple woo, woo, woo. Like, you gotta do some of those, and there you go, you got a trap song. So it's kind of bittersweet because as these underground artists that have something to say, we're constantly like, we feel like we're depressed and suppressed from even like making it because we have all these big machines behind the Drakes, behind the Migos, behind all these big names that, like, whether or not they just want to make like hype songs, that's great, but what happened to the purpose? What happened to the message? Where are all the Lauryn Hills of our generation?
Hell yeah.
Where are the Tupacs? I mean, you just killed one. You just killed Nipsey. And it's also bittersweet because of that loss of such an icon and someone who was just scratching the surface, and he was just silenced like that, taken out. Like, it's so scary for artists to even, one, step up to the plate and say, yeah, what I could say could damn near kill me. Like, I could piss someone off right now and it'll make them pull the trigger. Same, or being an artist in general and shining your light and being okay with being in the limelight as well. Look at Christina Grimmie. She was opening up for Selena Gomez on tour and she got shot in the face by a guy that drove from like cross country.
Wow.
So it's really scary. You know what I mean? Like, it's really scary to digest that as an artist and want to even continue, especially the common denominator in these random killings that I just told you about is they shine their light. They're purposeful. You know what I mean? They are a beacon of light that the world really, really seriously needs, and they get silenced by whatever darkness. And it's just very bittersweet because part of you is like, oh, fuck, that's scary. Do I want a part of this? Can I just have a normal life? I know as an artist, I know I speak for a lot of artists out there that we go through that on a monthly basis. Like, what am I doing? Why me? And then on the other side, when these killings happen, it's bittersweet because you either want to rise up or you want to cower away. You know what I mean? So we teeter-totter between both the light and the dark, and that is a balance that every human tries to have. But as an artist, like, yeah, man, it's heavy. It's really heavy sometimes seeing it's heavy seeing the people that are prophetic in their word get killed and taken away. And it's also bittersweet when you see other artists that mumble
and who just make it to the top.
And make it to the top because of a machine that's pushing them or a label. It's really bittersweet. So I think for me personally, comparison is, and this is for everyone, comparison is like the ultimate dream killer. Like, if you constantly look at someone else, you're never going to appreciate what's in front of you or what you have, because you know what? Fact of life is, I did not grow up the same way that you did. I don't have the same parents you did. You know what I mean? So we can't compare, but we do all day, every day, because of what? Social media. So it's like this weird cycle, but I just try to keep my blinders on, so to speak. I keep my blinders on. I'm like, oh shit, that's tight. You went on tour with Chris Brown. Okay, shit, that's tight.
That's tight. But I'm trying to make my project.
Yeah,
over
I'm
here.
like, oh, that's tight. Maybe I'll double tap it. And then
I mean, this is probably the third podcast this week, and we've talked about Nipsey Hussle in every single one. And like the consensus between all of us is really just the fact that like he was somebody, not even an icon, but somebody who was able to help out the community, you know? And, like, coming from, like, an artist perspective, too, Nipsey's been around for, like, 10 plus years, dog. And at the age of 33 is when he gets Grammy nominated. So, you see instances like that, and you think about, like, wow, like, you could see the Blue Faces pop off. You could see the Lil Uzi Verts pop off, and that's fine. That's cool. But, like, if you want longevity, you need to be doing this shit from the ground up, from day one. And then, hopefully you've been building on a very solid foundation. And by the time it's like year 8, year 10, year 13, whatever, people see that like your foundation and your build, whatever you've been building is strong enough to sustain itself.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. And also, again, balancing between light and dark, like seeing his career take off and end so abruptly. It's scary because it shows you how much work you have to put in to barely even scratch the surface.
And that amount of work that people see, it really puts people back in the shell like, fuck, I don't know if I have 10 years.
Yes.
Because between random shootings, random killings, like you never really know. But, it's that battle between like, well, are you doing it for fame? Are you doing it to help yourself? Are you doing it to help your community? What are you doing it for? And like whatever impactful purpose that you have, like as long as you do whatever that purpose is, like I feel like you're fine. It doesn't matter if it takes 10 years. It doesn't matter if it takes 5 years. It could happen in 1 year. That's great. Just hopefully you can sustain that momentum for like ever for as long as you can.
Yeah. And yeah, that's such a scary it's scary thinking about all of that, but at the same time the only thing that gives me peace when I look at other artists and I look at how long they've been in the game and just now they're getting nominated for Best New Artist. You know what I mean? They're not new. They've been doing this.
Like her's been around forever.
Thank you. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have so much work to do, but I have to snap myself out of that because again, my path is not the same as anyone else's. My timeline is never going to be the same as anyone else's. Fuck a timeline. I had a timeline for myself. Psh,
Yeah, throw that shit out the water. Like
Funny.
we all had these preconceived notions by like our 20s we would be the most successful people, where real success doesn't actually occur until you're like mid 30.
Yep, I'm like, God is probably laughing at me. Like he watched me like make all my plans. Like I'm gonna do this by the time I'm there, and I'm gonna have this, and I'm gonna be grabbing
Hey, question, did you ever have like this idea in which like you felt like you were gonna get married? Like an idea date?
Oh yeah.
What age was that?
I thought I was gonna get engaged at 27. Bitch, where?
You got that ring though.
I got my stones. I got my stones, but yeah, like all these different, like say fuck it, to all the different things, the isms that you had for your life, because they say that God laughs when you make plans. He's like, that's cute. Oh, you thought? That's what he's saying. He's like, oh, Rosen, you thought? Oh, no.
Hilarious. Let's
That's what
just
he
throw
does.
you a curveball
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. But you just have to have faith in the unknown. And I think that, we need to jump more. We need to take more leaps of faith and trust that God knows what he's doing. Like, I really do have to implement that in my life rather than just talk the talk. You know what I mean? I have to really, take those leaps of faith. And I think the first real leap of faith that I took, well, no, the second was creating pages. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, Lord. I don't know, but I'm going to write about this and I'm going to think it's fire and I'm going to promote it just for myself. And if I heal one person, tight. If not, cool, I'll make more music, but I think I need to do this. And all I did was just do it. And things just started like coming to me. Like the nonprofit organization that I work for now came to me because the founder of it is half Filipino. And she found me and she was like, oh my God, I love your music. Oh, you're so cute, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, 2.5 years later, here I am, like working with them. And I'm traveling to Philly for them, through them, basically. So it's just crazy how when you take a leap of faith and you don't physically see a net at the bottom, but you still take a leap of faith anyway, God still is like, I got your back. Yeah. Like, I was at church and the pastor was saying, how many times have you struggled, but you were always okay at the end? You may have struggled a little bit, but you were always okay at the end. Like, has God ever failed to pay your rent? You always pay rent. You're still here, right? And I was like, damn, you're right.
Yeah, no, that's real.
Yeah, and he was like, why don't people take more leaps of faith? God has you if you just walk in your purpose. Everyone has a gift because you're here, right? Are you alive and kicking? Okay, you got a gift. I got a gift. Homegirl that lives next door has a gift.
Everybody watching this guy.
Everyone that is breathing has a gift, and I feel like we just need to unlock that and live in that moment and in that purpose always and in all ways, because when you do that, you see what I did there?
I like that.
But when you do that, like, you can't go wrong. You'll have adversity, but the adversity only happens temporarily. It's because it's God trying to like stretch you and pull you and be like, hey, you're not seeing this. I need to show you the severity of this. And he will make you revisit the same tests over and over again. That test to me looked like a girl group. He was like, here we go again. Like, Pages is waiting. Are you going to say yes to this girl group again and cower behind 2 other girls? Or are you going to put your balls out there and talk
do
about
what you
this?
gotta do, yeah.
And it only took me, 6 girl groups to realize,
hey, man. It's
so
all good. At least you figured it out.
I figured it out, but I just feel like it's, it's all falling into place, and you have to be okay with all the bullshit that gets thrown your way, because like Nipsey said, it's all part of the struggle, and the struggle is beautiful at the end. It's all worth it.
So then, is there going to be a Pages 3, or are you going to be working on something else?
No Pages 3. I think I'm going to continue with the project as is, but in different ways. So keep it musically, but I want to create an experience out of it, like a full, like multi-sensory immersive experience.
What, like VR?
No.
Like, what you mean?
Create like a pop-up. Like, I've been brainstorming a pop-up where you can walk through everything and you can experience each song in a different way.
Tight.
Like, you experience it the same way that I do. And then I want a live performance with the live band instead of, some instrumental. I want it full, like in your face. I want to create it to be like an art exhibit or an art installation. I also have photos that a bunch of photographers took of me, like for the cover art. And I want to showcase that in a gallery form as well. And I also want to showcase my actual journal entries. I have all the frames. I just haven't thrown the damn event. But I thought, like, why am I rushing with this? I can continue to keep telling my same story. Like, why do I need to put a period at the end of this? Like, I can still continue to do this. Why am I rushing through it? And meanwhile, while that's a whole separate entity, I really want to make new music, whether it's bangers, a little bop, or something more soulful. I really want to create music that I would genuinely listen to and what my listeners would want to listen to. But that Pages is just going to be like immortalized just in its own right, because that story happened, and it happens every day to multiple people. And I think that story is going to be alive just from the existence of that music and people still playing it, as if they just heard it yesterday. So it doesn't have to be like a timeline thing. I think I'm just going to take my time telling that same story about domestic violence and my story just in a different way.
Because it's a conversation that doesn't end once Pages is done. That's a conversation that happens every single day.
Right.
And, I really personally commend you for the fact that, like, you're going cross country just to talk to people about that, because I don't know that many people who do. So you got balls for that.
I got balls. Yeah.
You got balls for that.
It's crazy. It's a crazy experience, and it's, woo. Like, I stopped shaking, like, before I sing, but whenever I go into these speaking gigs, and it's always like a speaking gig, and then I do like a live concert basically after. But oh my gosh, like my hands shake so much. I have to like really center myself before I even begin to talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really healing like the past year and a half. I'm doing exactly what I said, which is healing through my music. Yeah. So it's helping me heal as well.
Well, hopefully we can set up something for you to do that over here sometime.
Yeah, dude. I'm down. I'm so down. Like a live performance?
Live performance, talks, everything. Because I really fuck with your story. Thanks, and everything that you stand for real.
Thank you.
Rozen, where could everybody find you?
Everyone can find me. The easiest way I would say is through Instagram. So @officialrozen. Rozen is spelled like frozen without the F, so ROZEN. And then the link in my bio is actually my Spotify link, my artist Spotify link. So everyone can find me through that. Yeah.
Amen.
That's basically it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. This is The Lunch Table. I'm Nico Blitz, and we are out. Rozen, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yay!